Welcome to the Coaches Show. I am Guy Danhoff, and of course, I'm with Coach B. Coach, last week here at home on homecoming, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan once wrote a song called Don't Bother Knocking When the Houses Are Rocking. I can definitely say Spartan Field and this amazing crowd that we had of over 1,400 were rocking and supporting the Spartans. Did you feel it as a coach?
Yeah, I did actually, and it kind of surprised me because I typically don't notice a whole lot of the crowd and just a lot of things going on that are occupying my attention, and I've got the headset on, and so. But yeah, there was definitely times where I could feel the fans. I could feel the energy, and man, it was awesome, and the guys were feeding off of it too.
Absolutely. So a big shout out to the 300 group. That's obviously our student led. I mean, they're just super athletic fans. Also, the pep band. How about them?
Yeah,
they had the energy, right?
No, and I was talking to the band director the night before, Shane, yeah. And they had a little bonfire, and they were down there playing, and we were talking, and I just said, man, there's just something that just makes a college football game when you have a band, and they do a great job, and Shane's a great guy, a lot of fun to be around. So just not just them, the 300, not just the pep band, but just all the other fans that came out and supported, and it was a great day. The score not in our favor at the end, but can't say enough about what a home field advantage it was.
Absolutely. So the final score was 34-17. However, as I will say, in this case, I don't think the score was as close as the game actually was, because when you look at it at halftime, they were only leading by 14-7. And take us back to at that time. What did you say to your team at halftime when the offense was kind of struggling to get things going? And of course, you had a couple turnovers in the first half. But talk to us what you said to the team at half.
Well, just the fact that it was anybody's ball game.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were down one score. We had moved the ball. We had a turnover in the red zone. We had a few other situations that happened, and we were right there. And when you're in a one-score game like that, it's anybody's game, and it was really up to really what I told them is who's going to want it the most coming out of the second half. And coming out of the second half, I thought that overall the guys really played extremely well, for majority of the game, and gave us an opportunity. Both sides of the ball gave us an opportunity late, including special teams.
Well, absolutely. And speaking of that, now we get to the fourth quarter. We're trailing 21-10 at the start of the fourth quarter. And the reason why I remembered so vividly is because I had a guest on, and Kevin wasn't on the play-by-play. So here it is, the fourth down play. They're punting to us, and the next thing you know, Loggins catches the punt. You have a beautiful return left on, and I knew that he broke close to 3 tackles, and then at the end, there's a guy like kind of my size, big offensive lineman. All he has to do is just one head fake here, and he's gone, take it to the house. He took it to the house 67 yards. At that point, the Spartans come back 21-17, and now you were definitely in this ball game. So kind of talk to us about there, and then what kind of happens next.
Well, I'm trying to think back. There was a situation. Right before that, our defense got in there, and I thought that we had a really good shot at maybe getting an intentional grounding call. They didn't give it to us, but they punt. You mentioned the guys block, and they did a great job blocking. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, he really didn't get touched. He made a couple nice moves. You mentioned that, when he had the one-on-one versus the offensive lineman, and I know he would have not wanted to be in the film session with his teammates if he let that guy tackle him. But great job by everybody on the punt return team, giving him an opportunity, and then Domingo making a really nice return, and that really started getting the momentum. I mean, you want to talk about a time when I could feel the fans, man. The bench, the fans, everybody at that time was really into it. 21-17, and there was, I don't know. You said
13 minutes.
13 minutes left.
13 minutes left.
So plenty of time left in the game, and you're putting yourself in a position right where you want to be.
Yeah. And then after that, there were still a couple of third down stops, because I'm going to be honest with you, I had my headset, as you know. It was the first time in my history doing a home game where I could actually hear our crowd through my own headset. That's when this place must be loud. And and if you look where we're at right now in our press box, I mean, it's isolated. So to be able to hear it in your own headset tells you how loud everyone was on those third down plays.
Yeah, no doubt. They did a great job, and I thought the defense really did a good job making a lot of those stops on third down as well.
Yeah. So, but as the game turns out, the Spartans end up with 5 turnovers to their none, which really was the storyline in the game. And it was just tough to finish at that point. So, again, 3 interceptions and then 2 fumbles, and and I don't want to belabor this point, so I'll just let you whatever you want to say about the 5 turnovers. But obviously, again, we always say this: when you don't win that statistic, usually that's going to be what really determines the outcome of the game.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think we were better in some respects. I know it sounds weird to say, but we've got to be better on the fumbles.
Right.
There's 2 interceptions that Josh threw, and they were kind of late in the game, and
Right.
Those are situations that, yeah, they count towards the 5. They had a minimal effect on the game, I would say. Like, of course, the 1 turnover defensively, we miss a tackle, and it leads to that final touchdown.
Right.
Otherwise, it would have been 27-17, and the game looks a lot different. But that's a situation where the quarterback and receiver weren't on the same page. Josh thought he was going to kind of sit in the hole. It was a time where we needed a quick score, and then of course the fifth one comes on towards the end of the game where we're just trying to see what we can get late, and by all intents and purposes the game was really over. So he took a shot, and the guy made a nice play and picked it off. So really, you're looking at about 3 turnovers, one of them being on special teams, though, and regardless of whether you're 3 or 5, it's too many, and we've got to continue to emphasize it, and it's something that we've been very hard on, and really honestly just as a staff sitting down kind of racking our brain, brainstorming what things can we do different. There's been some drills where this week where we've typically gone into a situation where it was like, hey, defense, you've got to get a stop, and now we went to, hey, defense, you've got to score, or sorry, not score, but create a turnover, and really try and pull at it. And offense, we don't really care if you score or not. You've got to just make sure you don't turn the ball over in the drills. So we just tried to maneuver and manipulate some of that stuff just to continue to emphasize it. But and then we had the unfortunate call with Joe King where he lit their tight end up and really fumbled the ball. Would have given us great field position, and it didn't go in our favor. But overall, it was a very weird game. Like you said, it was a lot closer than what you say. Their running back was a great running back, and you go back and watch. They are very challenging. I think I mentioned this in the post game of how they run the football, and you got to make sure you got enough guys to the point of attack. There was literally 4 plays that we just didn't do it quite right, and it turned into big plays. And against a team like that, you really have to sell out to stop the run. And if you don't do it right, you're going to end up with big plays. And unfortunately, there was a couple plays where we were just a hair off. Right.
Well, you look at the stats, and Kayvon Johnson, big day, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 9.2 average, and he busted that 89-yard long. Yeah. But the thing that's deceiving, to your point, is if you just take out those 2 long runs, I mean, you're holding him in check.
Oh, yeah.
But that is the thing, as you look at your defense. I mean, it's very rare in a game that your 2 safeties, Cowley and King, are going to have 22 tackles between them.
Yeah.
That means that they're obviously playing a lot of run support because that's where a lot of their tackles came from. I mean, Cowley had 7 solo, King had 6 solo. That's asking a lot. Don't get me wrong; they played fantastic games, but to your point, it means that they're the last line of defense on so many tackles, and so that is the hard part because certainly Johnson had a fantastic game based on being able to bust those big runs.
Yeah, he did. And again, from a game plan's perspective, we knew what it was coming into the game. We knew we had to sell out. We knew we had to get the safeties involved in the run support in order to make those stops. And it's just funny, and it's heartbreaking. I told the defense when I met with them, and we watched film on Monday, as I said, look, really, I'm really proud of how they played. Really am. They everybody did their job. There was 4 times where we got a little bit. We were literally one guy off, and it put 2 guys in a gap, and all of a sudden there was a crease. And credit to him because there was not a big hole, and he's a little guy. He squeezed right through there, made a big run. But we did the math. On 29 carries, we held him to about 90 yards on 29 carries.
Right.
And
that's around 3.
About 3 yards,
Yeah.
right around 3 yards a carry, which is pretty darn good against that back and that offense and that type of game plan. It was those 4 plays that just sunk the ship. And the guys, they felt bad. The guys who were just a little bit off on that, they felt bad on it. But at the end of the day, really proud of the way they played against that team.
Well, I want to highlight a couple more things on defense, though. You had 3 sacks. That was by Austin and Ramsey and Sains.
Yeah, Gio.
Yeah, Gio. Yep, Sains. They each had one. That is the second consecutive game that Ramsey and Austin have had a sack. So again, they're continuing their presence. And also, I got to give a big shout out to Marcus Paddock, because in the broadcast we call that dude the paw, because he had he actually broke up a pass with his big hand, the big paw, and then the huge part of the game, that block.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that play.
Yeah, I don't know if Marcus got it or Zepp Velder got it coming off the edge. I know both of those guys have. Zepp does a great job on field goal block. He brings it hard off the edge and is close to blocking a number of kicks. So, but Marcus has done a good job. Zepp, he never takes a play off.
Right.
He's just consistent in that, and his time at corner has gone down a little bit throughout the course of the year. But he just shows up and works every day. Is always ready. We had a few issues, with Terrell Powell going out in that game, and Zepp came in and did a really good job. So, really want to give a lot of credit to Jeremiah, though. Jeremiah, throughout the week, he was a guy that I was on him really, really hard about. He wasn't doing his job. He wasn't reading his keys. He wasn't doing some little things right.
Yep.
And I told these guys, I kind of used it as a teaching moment. I said, when you guys think that I'm just crazy and I'm losing my mind about something that you don't think matters, look at, when we get one guy out of a gap, why it matters so much and why we repeat those plays and why I'm so hard on you. Or Jeremiah, one of the things that I was hard on him about throughout the week was that he was kind of chasing the quarterback, and giving up a boot. And that team lives on running the football and then countering with a play action boot, and they live on it. And because Jeremiah was so disciplined on Saturday, they did not run a boot one time. Now they ran some play action pass, but they didn't run any boot plays where he could have got on the edge and made some big plays. And all the guys did a great job on those passes. It's tricky because they like to leak guys back across the formation, but Rook Rowe, JC, Joe King, Jeremiah, all those guys did a great job of just doing their job, and they fell right into the plays that we showed them all week. Yeah,
and one of the other things that you did, again, I want to make notice, is it was kind of a chess match between you and the other coach, because you were either bringing in a extra corner, or actually bringing in a corner, or you're bringing in an extra defensive lineman.
Yeah.
And they ran a lot on second down, so that worked really well because you had the box stop. But one question I do have, because it's one thing you make those moves, but on one of the plays they scored a touchdown on, you had your linebacker Colin Thomas as opposed to your corner out there. Did you feel that was going to be a mismatch on that one-on-one, because that was their best receiver?
Yeah, that one was really on me. You mentioned the chess match. That was a game where the in-game adjustments by both sides was something that one of the reasons I love the game. I love the back and forth chess matches of how you're going to make things, and I think Coach Co and Jack and myself. But with Coach Co's leadership there and so how long he's been around, the one thing he's always bringing up is, okay, if this is what we're going to do to game plan throughout the week, what is our answer if they do something different? And he's, so we go in with kind of a backup plan already. One of the things that they did to us was they would get into a 2 tight end, 2 running back set where we felt like we had to get an extra defensive lineman in, which was Raekwon Ramsey. And what they did, to their credit, was they saw us bringing an extra lineman. They took the same people and split them out wide and spread us out and make us cover. So we had to then adjust to, instead of going 5 defensive linemen, go 4 defensive linemen with 4 running backs. And we had to kind of on the fly tell Colin what he was going to do when he got split out.
Right.
Now the play that you're kind of talking about was a play where I kind of had a moment of lapse, I guess, mental lapse
Right.
that falls on my shoulders, where he's a big body kid, number 3, and I just kind of associated him as a tight end off the top. Otherwise, we probably should have had another corner in.
Right.
But Colin did the best he could considering the situation. That was how we had to match it up, and it was just my fault on that one play of not getting the right personnel in, and Colin did everything he could. So
absolutely. I'm just saying in terms of the chess match, that's why I'm saying it. Yeah. That when they saw that, because I even said it before the playing began, I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Are they going to run, or are they just going to go because it's one-on-one, and you got a linebacker on the receiver?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if I'm their coach, I'm taking that shot.
Yeah,
and your deep help with Cowley just came too late.
Yeah,
and because of the way they ran the motion, they man the motion away. So Jalen had to cheat up to the right side of the field.
Yeah, and that again, that's just part of the chess match.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm really big on is trying to match personnel to personnel, and that was just something Coach Coe did a great job from the box, telling me who was coming in, who was coming out, and on that one we. Just missed it. They substituted number 3 in, and he's such a big body. I just didn't even go back and associate him as a wide receiver, because they really only used him in very specific times, and but. That falls squarely on me. I thought overall the guys did a really good job in adjusting.
Absolutely, they did. Like I said, we were talking about the whole second half, how it literally was a chess match. Watching the two coaches, duel it out on who's going to win, who's got the strength, who's going to take advantage of whatever the other person's giving. That was pretty exciting to see. Again, even from our vantage point up here, watching the game. So, but overall, no, I agree with you. That's why I wanted to shout out some of this defensive. Stats are pretty amazing. All right, getting back to now the offensive side. Demo, Darius Morrison, at 12 carries for 77 yards, had that touchdown. He did average 6.4 yards a carry. Munn was 19 for 33 with 156 yards, no touchdown, 2 interceptions, and I would totally agree with you. Late in the game, they were kind of inconsequential at that point. And another thing I thought he did, and I'm sure this is part of the game plan with Coach Schnabel, he threw to 7 different receivers.
Yeah,
spreading the ball around.
Right. I thought Josh really played well, and we sat him down on Friday and really had to talk to him. He's such a competitive guy. That,
absolutely.
He puts a lot of the. He feels like as a quarterback, that it all starts and stops with him, and in a lot of ways it does, But I think sometimes as young guys they can put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
I thought he played a really great game of just going out and being himself, playing loose. Right. And, how tough is that kid, right? He dislocates his shoulder and then walks over, pops it back in, and is ready to go the very next play. In fact, he came over when we had taken a timeout, and because of the timeout, he would have been able to go back in the game. And he said that he was ready, and honestly, I probably should have put him back in, but I didn't believe him that he was ready yet, But he was, in fact, ready, and, I should have just trusted him and sent him in. But he's just a tough kid, tough competitor.
Yeah. Well, I know you can't see it. The timeout's going on here, so you're over here. We're looking this way, and we're seeing the team doctor, just doing the shoulder eval, and then the next thing you know, again, it looked like somehow it gets popped back in, and he's literally feeling totally fine. Runs over to you, sprints over to you, he's ready to go in. We were just wondering, are you going to put him in? So I know it's a real tough call in that moment. You got the timeout, you got a million things to think about. So anyways, but to your point, he's a really tough competitor. Also, what a way to drive down. He had that big run. I think it was 26 yards. That was when he landed on the shoulder. But again, competitor, he had 56 yards rushing as well. So again, he's that dual threat from passing and even running. All right, one last big offensive, big shout out is your field goal kicker. What more can we say? I'll let you set it up because this one is an MBU in the record books. So talk to us about the record from your field goal kicker, O'Dane Reed.
Yeah, Odie is just he's just a weapon. He's a weapon that we really haven't had ever, or it's been a long time. I think the last time that a guy that was really impactful like that would be like Tyler Hack when he was with us as in the starting years because he got us out of some bad situations with his punting ability. But, the ability for Odie to put the ball in the end zone, that takes pressure off your kickoff return or your kickoff team.
Yep.
And then the ability in his range and the strength of his leg. I mean, he kicks 60-yarders in practice, and he just has a tremendously strong leg, a God-given gift to kick the ball. And in that situation, we just had total confidence in him, and he's working on his accuracy, but his accuracy is getting a lot better.
Yeah.
I was watching him out here before practice yesterday. In fact, there was a kicking coach who came out and worked with him a little bit, and they were kicking 45-yarders, and he was putting it on the track. So, I mean, he's got a legitimate opportunity with his talent and the strength of his leg to get a look at the next level. I mean, he is that good, and it's a big-time weapon for us.
Well, that kick looked like straight through the middle on that 48-yarder, and it looked like an NFL kick. It looked like Justin Tucker, of the guy who just set the record 2 weeks ago for the Ravens. I mean, it was just hit with authority. It had that trajectory. There's no doubt he is a big-time weapon, and that was a big-time kick. And knowing that, who knows, before the end of a half, you try a 58-yarder, that's not so crazy anymore. No. I was watching him in pregame, nailing, just under 60 yards. I was watching him because he was kicking this way.
Yeah.
I was watching him in pregame, kicking those, and certainly also kicking the 50-yarders. And like you said, he's just getting better at the accuracy. So the more he gets more game time, experience, the better. He's just going to keep going, and the timing of the snap to the hold, putting it down to kicking. So. Yeah. But I'm so excited for him to get that record. To think he's only been playing organized football for what, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Month. Yeah. And
4 weeks.
And I'll tell you, the thing that is impressive with him is just how much work he puts into it.
Right.
Friday night, I walk out here and I look, and he's out. He didn't kick the ball as well as he wanted. He's out here kicking the ball on Friday night after our walkthrough. And then I see him at pregame meal. He's the first one there at the pregame meal on Saturday morning. I'm talking to him, and he's telling me about how he's been watching film of NFL kickers to see how they're striking the ball and how their steps are. I mean, he's really invested, and I think he's starting to realize that he really does have a special gift, and with some work, and he's willing to put in the work. There's no doubt.
Right.
So I just am so excited for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, it helps our football team, but I'm just really excited for him on, and I mean, he's so raw. How good can this guy be is a little bit frightening.
Well, it is. So with that, let's now talk about your upcoming opponent. This is interesting. You're going to be playing St. Xavier from Chicago. They're ranked 22nd in the country. They did lose this past week, 45-38 versus Olivet. So that's kind of nice for you because your next opponent's going to be Olivet. So you got a chance to see both teams, on the film. That kind of is nice. They come in with a 3-2 record. However, one of those wins was by forfeit to Roosevelt because of the COVID. Last year, again, they were ranked, I want to say around 13th in the country. You go on the road with 5:30 remaining. They have to drive the length of the field and score a touchdown to win that game, which eventually they actually did do that, and we lost 17-14. But the point I'm trying to make, here it is, it's down to the 5:30 mark to finish a game, and you are in a driver's seat to close this game out and get the win on the road.
Yeah, that was a game that I think I'll remember for a long time. I think guys on the football team will remember for a long time. I know there's a number of guys in that locker room that want to finish the job. They want this one bad. We've played them very tough the last couple of years. We were talking even a couple of years ago on homecoming when Isaiah had a tremendous game, and it comes down to a bit of a questionable fumble that they returned for a touchdown that kind of shifted the momentum, and that was late in the game. Then you have the last year's drive. So. They're a good football team. There's no doubt. They're a little bit different than what they were what they've been in the past.
Right.
They got a transfer wide receiver in, and he's a pretty darn good wide receiver. But in general, it's going to be another tough week. It's going to be another Mid-States Football Association week where, both teams, I think, have a real chance of winning the game. That us and included in that, obviously. And I think that it's just going to come down to who executes and who can make the plays and continue to follow the game plan. Obviously, turnovers are going to be key, and that's something we just keep talking about. You can't beat good teams giving them extra chances. And we've got to protect the football defensively. We've got to probably create a few turnovers and continue to have special teams play a big role.
Well, just for Spartan fans, if you do remember that homecoming game 2 years ago, Isaiah King had 243 yards receiving, school record. He did hit the hat trick for 3 touchdowns in that game. And it was just one of those games where the team was so focused and was just battling. I mean, it was like watching, kind of like a title fight, if you would, going back and forth, and the unfortunate call later, or the questionable call later on that fumble. Obviously, we ended up losing the game, but still, at that time, they were ranked like 8th in the country to come in and see what the Spartans did even 2 years ago. So anyways, a reason why I bring that up is I love some of these history because for whatever reason, the Spartans get up for this team.
Yeah, well, it's something we talk about for years. You talk about the Marians when we played them consistently. St. Francis, Indiana, when we played them consistency. I think Olivet is a team that's really starting to make some noise in our league as well. But for a long time, Coach Feminis is a guy who's been in the league as long as anybody outside Kevin Donnelly as their head coach. He darn near helped formulate the league and as a former national champion back in 2011 at St. X. And he's a guy that has always been very good to me, very good to, just the respect that he shows our program. And I have tremendous amount of respect for him as well and what he's done over his career. But, that's really, as I say, the top, creme de la creme of our league. And that's who we want to compare ourselves to. It's very important to always compare yourselves against the best, and so it's important that we show up for those games and we show up ready to go. And I think what I'm finding out of our guys is that they know they can compete week in and week out with anybody. It's just making those little plays, those details, making sure we're clean on all those things so that we're able to get over the hump and knock these teams off.
Right. So with that, Coach, I want to close on more of a heartfelt story, I guess, and that this week MBU will be promoting and advocating strongly for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I remember 2 years ago interviewing your wife, Michelle. And I will say it was the toughest interview, not because she was tough to interview, but because what was going on with her. I was wondering if you could briefly share, what happened to Michelle at that time and where she's at today, because at the time when she sat next to me, she had no hair. She wore a baseball hat. And I know the radiation just took its toll on her body. And the fact that she was even sitting next to me was also a miracle from God.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, shoot, I'm gonna get emotional thinking about it, but she's the toughest person I know. Like what she's been through, not just with the breast cancer, but she was a tremendous athlete, forced to give up on literally how good she was is an understatement. She was on basically the Olympic team, like kind of the B Olympic team when she was in high school and early freshman, and I think had every opportunity to take basketball as far as she wanted. That's how good she was. And injuries forced her to give that up. And then and then she deals with breast cancer, and just the thing that I think is amazing is just how throughout all of it, like her attitude is just always the same. Her faith. Not only has it always been strong, but it gets stronger, and it's just amazing to watch, something that is just keeps me going in a lot of ways, So the good news is God is good, and she's healthy and clear, and the tests that she has, they keep coming back in a that it's gone and it's
Yep.
in remission. I guess it's technically not ever gone, but still in remission,
Right.
and praise God for that. So yeah, it's a lot different, obviously this time of year, but I think for us it's something that is never that far from our brain, whether it's
Right.
October or not. It's just very blessed to still have her around, and praise God for that.
Absolutely, Coach. And all I can say is I'm really excited. You'll be hearing throughout the broadcast Spartan fans, talking to other folks that are in remission as well, some of their stories. And, I'm just so pleased that, and so excited really, of the amount of effort that's going to happen this weekend. So if you got your pink, feel free to pink out here, because this is going to be the pink out game. I know a lot of players do a really good job with, getting the pink on them as well. So, but yeah, Coach, I just wanted to bring up that story because I think we always need to be reminded, first and foremost. I just remember her just telling me about her faith in God, but it's the way she was saying it with such a conviction in the state that she was in, and it's the only reason kind of why I brought that up, because that was for me the hardest interview I've ever had, because I'd never had been in a situation like that. You also, I think we'll also have Tom Smith's wife on, Mary Smith, and her story, and we got a couple other folks that we're going to also bring on the air. So, anyways, Coach, we're going to wish you all the best. I know this is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah.
Whenever you play St. Xavier, it is always going to be interesting. I know the Spartans are going to be ready and up for it. Let's just face it. Sure, you've lost the last, I know you've lost 3 games in a row, but the last 2 games, you've been in those games.
Yeah.
And if you can somehow, get the turnover ratio to fall in your favor, I mean, I see the Spartans could be putting up a big W this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's in our hands,
Right.
literally, like, we've got to protect the ball. We've
Yep.
got to just continue to do our job, do it at a high level. We've had a good week of practice. We had a really good team meeting on Monday, and I think anytime that you start losing games, you start kind of questioning and looking for other ways. But I think these guys, we kind of brought them back and realized
Yep.
that, hey, we're still in a good spot. There's still a lot of season left, and,
Yep.
and ultimately this is a tough league. It's a brutal league. You go from 3-0, and then all of a sudden you've got 4 out of your next 5 that are ranked in the top 25. I
Right.
mean, that says a lot about the competition in our league, and how tough it is, and you got to be ready to go every week, and we'll be ready this week.
Absolutely. So the Spartans will come in with a 3-3 record as they look to take on St. Xavier. Kickoff will be at 1 o'clock. And for Coach B, I am Guy Danhoff. We want to thank you for watching the Coaches Show right here on the Spartan Digital Network.